Hello, everyone, and welcome to Makeover Monday, WatchMeViz for week 9, 2024. Sorry for the slight delay. I was having some camera issues. As you can see, there is a green screen in the background, which I normally have populated with a background. So had some trouble getting that up and running. Obviously, couldn't get it to work. If you have any questions throughout this session, please feel free to leave those in the chat, and I will answer them just as soon as I can. Okay. Okay, so I think we are good to go. If somebody could please just leave a comment in the chat and let me know that you can hear me, that would be fantastic. And while you're doing that, I'm just going to go ahead and get Tableau up and running. Okay, so let's start by sharing my screen. That would probably help. Let me share my screen. Okay, thank you, Brad. I understand. I want to share my entire screen, screen 2. Okay, so the data set we're looking at this week, if I bring this over to my other screen, is not showing on the stream yet. There we go. So the data set we are looking at this week is the 67 best and worst countries for animal rights. So in the description here, they rank 65 countries that had data available from best to worst in their animal rights in 2021, and they created something called the Animal Rights Index. It uses 9 factors. Okay, so these 9 factors here. Now they have, what's really weird about this is they have these kind of like pictures for the top 5, yes, partial, and no. And then for 6 through 9, they have this like color scale. So first off, that's like incredibly confusing to me. So I'm not sure what they're even doing by that. But then they have this, index score on the right-hand side, which makes it much easier to manage. One thing we don't know, at least I couldn't find anywhere in here, is what is like the best possible score. So for example, Luxembourg has almost 520 for its index. And if I scroll down, we have, here's the different categories, but it doesn't say like what the total potential outcome, or sorry, what the highest possible number is. So what does this do if I go here? Oh, so that's just the visualization. Yeah, so I don't think I'm going to be able to say, it's X percent out of, like, I don't know if it's out of 600 or what, let's see here, or what. So it's kind of hard to tell. So I'm not going to sort of pursue that. And I did get feedback this week. I got an email back from somebody that read my newsletter this week. And they said that I shouldn't feel obligated to fill up the entire hour with these sessions, and that if I know what kind of chart I want to build right away, just go ahead and build that and be done with it. And if the session is 30 minutes, then the session is 30 minutes. So I'm going to head that direction today, and we'll kind of see how we go. Right. So in Tableau, I'm going to go ahead and connect to the data. And where do I have it saved? Makeover Monday, data 2024, and animal rights. Okay, and if we look here, we see the country recognition of animals. Okay, so sentience, whatever that means. Okay, so these must be the categories going across. So so that's these categories 1 through 4. And then we get into the numbers themselves. So meat consumption. So 6 through 9 actually have numbers. So that makes it even more confusing to me. So I think I'm going to just stick with the total score because I don't really know how to compare the rest of these things. You could maybe compare some of the stats down the bottom. Maybe do, I don't know. We could look at a couple of different things, like maybe environmental performance index versus meat consumption per capita, something like that. Because the reason I might look at that is because cows, for example, give off the most methane and cause the most CO2 damage to the atmosphere, but nobody talks about that. So I'm just going to go to sheet 1. Maybe I'll just start with that just for the heck of it. So I'm going to look at meat consumption per capita against environmental performance indicator index, and I'll just put country on detail. And we get something like that, which doesn't really tell me a whole heck of a lot. So why don't I just put average lines on here for the table. So we can see a couple of quadrants here. So this bottom right would be low meat consumption, high performance index score. Okay, so let me see what this performance index score means. So let's go down to number 9. Let's see if it explains it. A Yale University ranking of 32 factors to determine environmental health and ecosystem vitality. Okay, so that must mean that's a good thing. So if they have low meat eating, then they have low environmental performance index. So is that good or bad? Okay, I don't quite. So what do we have up here? Australia, United States, and then down here, India. Okay, so I think the upper right would be as high meat consumption, high environmental performance index score. So I would probably need to do a bit of research on this thing here. Let's see if it doesn't do it. Environmental performance index score. Environmental performance index score. Yale. Let's see what this says. Okay, provides a data-driven summary. Ranks 180 countries. Okay, so let's see if it results. Let's just go straight to here. So rank. So the higher the score, the better. Okay, I assume that's what that means. Okay, so the higher the score, the better the environmental. Let's see. How am I reading this right? Provides a quantitative basis for comparing, analyzing, and understanding environmental performance. We must score and rank these countries on their environmental performance using the most recent year. But what does this actually tell us? Okay, let me go back. Let's see if there's anything. Okay. So this again doesn't tell us a whole lot. Okay, so maybe I should just skip that because that I don't want to make any assumptions based on that that information. So I probably should not use that. Okay. Anyway, but it does look interesting because we can see some. I'm assuming that the upper right is good, or no, that you would want to be in the lower right. So that would be low meat eating, high environmental performance, something like that. Okay, anyway, but I think that the best way for us to look at this is probably by like total score. So if I just look at country by total score, we just get a simple bar chart, right? I think. Let me see here. I think if I go to my, let me go to my Google Photos album, and did I do? Yeah, so I did a world tile map a couple weeks ago, so I probably won't do that again. Even though I think it might be another good way to look at this, but
That would mean, you know, two weeks already this year of using the same chart type, but maybe that's not bad. Maybe that's okay. So I'm just going to change it to a map and see what it looks like. Okay. Yeah, so there's a bunch of holes as well. There's a lot of countries we don't have data for. So what good is this going to do me? Let's see. Okay, let's try something here. I'm going to try something I just learned. So I'm going to create bins on the total score, and it goes from, what does the total score go from? So the worst is 12. That's not very good. Up to 5. Okay, so let's make it every 50 for now, just for the heck of it. Actually, why don't I make it a parameter? So I'm creating bins. And let's see, let's call this our score bin. And I'll set it to 50. And I'm just going to allow any number and 50. Okay. Okay, so I want to show this parameter. Okay, so the parameter's on, oops, let me see, show the parameter. And now what I'm going to do is, let me see here. I need to bring up another workbook to make sure I remember how to do this right. So, okay, so I'm going to put the bin, let's make that continuous. And I'll put that here. And I'm going to put each country onto detail. Okay, and again, if you have any questions along the way, feel free to leave them in the chat. How do I connect to the data set you're using? So Elena, if you go to makeovermonday.co.uk, you can grab any data set back to 2016 from there. Yeah, so, and then what do you mean by making the most of my program, Elena? So if you could leave that in the chat too, that would be great. So again, if you just go to makeovermonday.co.uk, you can see all of the data sets from previous years. I think they're still being, yeah, some of them are still being populated because we had to change the website. But you know, so far you've got several years out there, but that's where you go to get the data. Okay, so then what I want to do is, so if I lasso that there, you can see there's two items. Why am I only getting, okay, 6, 9. Okay, so we might have to play around with the bins a bit. But I'm going to put in here the index calculation, and then I'm going to make these circles. And I want to compute using the country. There we go. So this is a, this would be a, I guess like a dot plot. It's not a dot plot. It's called a, oh, why am I forgetting what this is called now? Oh, I'm totally drawing a blank. Hang on, I'll find the name of it here in a second. Oh, sorry, I'm just completely drawing a blank at what this is called. Let me just find it here. Sorry about that. That's not there. It should be here. Okay. This is called, oh, a unit histogram is what this is called. Sorry about that. I don't know why I was drawing a blank there. Okay, so basically each country is represented by a circle. You could put even the score onto color, and you can see they gradually get darker as you go across, but that doesn't really add a lot of value. So I'm going to make the bins maybe a bit bigger. No, maybe let's try making them a bit smaller even. Okay, we get something like that, right? So this is telling us every 25 points. So most of the countries are here. There's 11 countries. So I could put total score on the tooltip, maybe remove the index from the tooltip, and now I can see each country with its bin and with the score. So let me take the bin out of the tooltip, and there we go. So this is a unit histogram. Now, another chart that's close to this is called a beeswarm chart, and this requires understanding a bit more of the math. So I'm going to just duplicate that sheet, and let me just rename this one beeswarm.
And this took me a little while to figure out. So what a bee swarm chart is, let me see if I can, I'll just Google it. Bee swarm chart is, let's see, oops. Let's see if I can find a decent picture of, so it's going to be something like, probably something like this. Come on, maybe not. There we go. Something like this, where the dots kind of spread depending on, you know, so if there's only one dot, it's on the 0 line, and then they go up or down based on whether they're, based on how many values there are. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new calculated field, and I'm going to call this my spread. And I'm going to start by just saying something like, if the index is 1, that means there's only one mark, then I'm going to assign it the value of 0. And then I want to look at maybe odds and evens now. So else if, and I'm going to need to look at my notes for this one. So sorry, I'm going to be kind of looking back and forth here. Okay, let me bring this over here. Okay, so if there's only one record, we want it to go at the 0 mark. So that goes straight across. Otherwise, we want to know, well, how many, oh, no, sorry, I messed up. So let me close that. First thing I need to do is I need to count how many countries are in each of the bins. So I'm going to create a new calculated field called countries per bin. And I'm going to make this a level of detail expression. So I'm going to say fixed on the bin. I want to get the count distinct of country. So this is going to say for each bin, tell me how many countries are in that bin. So if we hit OK, and I'm just going to drag that to, I'll drag it the color, and then I'm going to make it discrete just so it makes it a bit easier to see what's going on. So we can see here, those are all the ones with 1 country, and then 2, and then 3, 4, 5, 6, there we go, etc. Okay, so we're going to use that as our kind of our starting point. So let me go back to my, okay, I need to create my calculated field again. I'm going to call this my spread. So I'm going to say if the index, no, if my countries per bin, let me put that up there. So I'm going to make this an attribute because I know it's only going to bring back one value. So each of these bins only brings back one value. So this bin here only brings back one value. The value is 1. This one brings these, this bin brings back only a single value, and that's 2, etc. So if that's equal to 1, then I want to return 0. And that means only one record in the bin. Okay, so that's the first end. Let me just say end there. And I'll duplicate this chart so you can see what's happening along the way here. So I am going to, I'm going to put this field onto, actually, maybe I can do it all in the same chart. That might be easier. So let me delete that so that way you can see it a bit better. Okay, so you can see now these are both going, compute, let's see, if index, is that right? Yeah, that's right. So you can see these are on 0 because there's only one mark, but I've only looked at the case where there is one, only one value. Okay, so now we need to consider whether it is an even number or an odd number. So now we want to say something like else if the attribute of countries per bin, if that is an even number, so to find if it's an even number, we want to do the modulo 2, which means, no, sorry, modulo 2 equals 0. So if I say it's equal to 1, that means it's an odd number. So if I do 5 modulo 2, the remainder is 1. Therefore, it's an odd number. Hopefully that makes a bit of sense there. So this would be odd number of records in the bin. Okay, so again, if the number of countries, let's say right here, we've got 3 countries here. 3 modulo 2 gives me a remainder of 1, which is an odd number. So that tells me that that bin there is an odd number. So if that's an odd number, then what I need to do is I need to look at the index within that bin. So I'm going to say if the index, oh, come on, equals 1, which means it's the first record. So in other words, this bottom circle here. Then I want to assign that the value of 0. And then if it is from that point, I now need to look at the second and third values. So now I'm going to say else if the index modulo 2 equals 0, meaning it's an even number. So this is an even index inside the bin. Then we want to assign it the value of index times 0.5. So we're just going to move it up a half a tick. And then otherwise, we want to do the index. We're going to take the index minus 1, the negative of the index minus 1. So that's going to move it down. So in other words, we're now looking at an odd number, which would be this one here. We're going to subtract 1 to make it 2. And then we're going to take the negative of that to make it negative 2. And then we're going to multiply that by 0.5. So this is the odd index inside bin. Okay, I know that's it's a bit difficult to explain, but basically we're just checking if they're even or odd numbers and then spreading them out. So then I need to close off that if statement. And so I'm not done yet, because what I've done now is I've accounted for when there's only 1 record, and then I've accounted for whether there's an odd number of records. So I still need to account for the even numbers. So I'm going to click on OK, and then I need to set this to compute using country. And now you can see where I have an odd number of bins, it's now spread them out, right? So you got 1 in the middle, 1 above, 1 below, something like that. So you can probably see it starting to take shape. So it's the same number of marks. We're just spreading them half up and half down. Okay, and then our last case here is else, and this would be when there's an even number of records in the bin. Even number of records in the bin. Then we want to say if the index is equal to 1, that means it's the first record in the index inside the bin. So it's the very first record. So again, we're looking at even numbers, so concentrate maybe on these blue ones this time. So if I'm the first number inside the bin, then I want to set that record to 0.5. So I'm just going to move it up a half a tick. And let me just hit end here and hit apply. Oops, what did I forgot a bracket. And hit apply. And you'll see now this number is at 0.05, right? But we only evaluated this first mark right here. So we need to account for the rest of them. Right, so if it's the first record, so we're in an even numbered bin, so there's 4 records. And if we're the first record within that bin, we're going to assign it a value of 0.5. Otherwise, we're going to say else if the index, we could probably just say this. So this would be an even number inside the bin. Then we want to do the let's see. We want to do the index. I think this is right. So index divided by 2. And if I hit apply there, okay, so now they're slightly off here. So I need to take that index. So I want to be on the second record. So the second record needs to go down to the bottom Okay, so the first record is at positive 0.5, so I need the second record to be at minus 0.5. So I want to do minus the index. So minus 2 divided by 2 is 1. And then I want to add to that 0.5. Okay, so let's think through this. So the index on my second record is 2. If I divide that by 2, I get 1. Multiply that by a minus 1, I get minus 1. And then add a half of that, so that'll get me to the 0.5 mark. So if I hit apply, you can see now that's shifted that down. Okay, so that's good. Otherwise, I want to look at the index, divided by 2. So this would be odd index inside bin. I think that's going to be right. Okay, so let's see what that does. So if we look at that one, then if we're at the third mark, that is my that index is 3. 3 divided by 2 gives me 1.5. So that should put the mark like right about there. So if I hit apply, there we go. So that gives us our nice little beeswarm chart there. So let me go back now. I can get rid of the index. I'm going to take the countries off of the color. And now we've got a beeswarm chart like that. So did that math make sense? I'm not sure if it did or not. So hopefully that made a bit of sense to you. So let me know if I tried to explain the math there. So let me actually I'll just go through it one more time. So when we're looking at the calculation, let me go back over here. Actually, I'll just put it back here. Let me put the index back here and move this here. And then I'm going to compute this using country. Okay, so let's see what this is doing now. If we only have one record in the bin, so this would be an example of that, then we want the mark to start right on 0, so dead in the middle. Otherwise, we want to say, well, what happens if it's an odd number of records? So let's look at maybe this one here. Let's look at those records. Then we're saying if we're the first record, so we're this record here within the bin, then I'm going to set that to 0, so it's right in the middle. So what's happening there is this record becomes this mark. We're just shifting it down. Otherwise, if we're an even number inside the bin, so that would be this one, because that's 2, then we're going to take the index, which is 2, and we're going to multiply that by 0.5. So we're going to take half of 0.5. Half of the index. Yeah, so if it's an even number, so this would be 2, then we want to take the index, which is 2, multiply by 0.5, which is 1. All right, so if I look at, do we have any that have 5 numbers? 1, 2, 3, that's 6. Okay, so this one has 7, for example. So if I go to the fourth one here, so 4 is an even number, therefore we're going to take 4. So I'm now in this section in the calculation. We're going to take 4, multiply it by 0.5, so it's going to put that mark right here at 2. So that's what that means. But if we're an odd number inside of the bin, so let's say we are this one here, then we're going to subtract 1 from that to make it 2. So now we're looking at this calculation. We're going to move it down to the bottom by making it a negative, and then we're going to multiply it by 0.5. So that's kind of how all of the shifting works. Okay, so let me take the index back off, and we get something like that. So now the neat thing about this, I can now change the bin size. So let's say I want to make it 10, then the beeswarm chart just moves around, right? Make it 5. I can make it 200. 200 won't look very good. Let's say 50. And so on. So let's say if I make it 10, what does that look like? So that's how you would create a beeswarm chart. Now, I'm not sure what you think about that. Any comments on that, on this chart type? Basically, it's trying to show us, it's a different way of showing distributions of the data. So let me see if I can find a number that 20 looks pretty good. So 25. Let's see. I think I like 20 best. Let's try 50 again. 50 looks kind of weird. So let me just try 45. I want to use a number that kind of people can make sense in their head. Okay, so this tells me here that there are 3 countries that have 500 and above. That's what that would mean. Okay. So that was a lot of words. And I think what I could do, I need to try to figure out how I can, like in this tooltip, it'd be useful to say what bin this is in. So this bin goes from 40 to 59. So I'm going to try something here. Let's see. Let me put this back in the tooltip. And I'm just going to put the bin on the label just so I can see what it's doing. Okay. So what I want to do is I want to create a calculated field. I'm going to call this, I'll call it my bin label. And what I want to do is I want to say, I want to take the total score bin. I'm going to convert that into a string. And then I'm going to put a hyphen. So I'll call this range. What are we calling it over here? It's called the, what do they call this? This is the animal rights index range. So I'm going to say range, and then plus the string of that, plus a hyphen, plus I want to do a string of total score bin, plus the score bin, -1. Okay, can I do that? String is being called with numeric bin. Do you mean Boolean? So how do I can I turn a bin into a number? String has become numerical bin. Okay, so it doesn't let me, Okay, I'm just going to try something here. We're missing a string. Numerical bin, did you mean Boolean? Oh, so I can't convert a bin into a string. Okay, let me just try it without the string. Okay. How can I convert a bin to a string? Okay, I'm going to look it up because I'm not sure. So tab below, convert bin to string. Okay. Can compare any. Okay, here we go. So you need this. String cannot convert numerical bin types, so this does not work. Type conversion. Okay, let's see what Reddit says. Is it possible? Oh, go to the data school website. Okay. So that's for dates. So that's not what I'm looking for. So that's going to truncate it to 5 intervals. Okay, if anybody knows in the chat, that would be great. So Ojo, so this chart type, I'm actually going to include it as a tutorial in Next Level Tableau. So you will have access to a tutorial for that. Okay. How to treat date bins. I have no idea how to do this. So maybe I can just Google this message. Cannot convert numerical bin. What does my error message say? Cannot. Let me just try this again. I think it said string is being called with numerical bin. I can't believe in all the time I've been using Tableau, I've never tried to do this. It must have been. Okay. Okay. Let me see. Let me try something here. Oh, maybe I could try. Nope, that's not going to work either. Okay, let me just hit OK for now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring my bin here and make it a string or make it discrete. And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get the next value down, but I need to return the bin as a string. So, and I can't change the data type. Okay, so let's see. Use it. Okay. So I can't do that. Calculation cannot have a right. So if I turn this into an integer, I don't think I can do a conversion. What if I did? So I can't convert a bin into anything else. Well, that's annoying. Okay. I'm not quite sure how to handle that. What about converting it first to integers? Converting, what would I convert first to an integer, Conrad? So Conrad on LinkedIn asks, what about converting it first to integers? Yeah, it doesn't let me convert it to integers either. So because you can't change the data type for a bin. So that doesn't help. Okay, let me try something else here. I'm going to try, let's make this a dimension and discrete. Okay, so now we have all the values. So I'm going to try to do that. Mod 20. So that gives me, it doesn't help. Okay, so that's what I tried just a minute ago. Okay. So that just gives me, no, so that doesn't help either. What I want to do is I want to round it down to the nearest 20. So how can I do that? I wonder if I can count the number of times it's divisible by 20. Okay, let me just see. So let's see, count formula to count the number of times one number is divisible by another. Maybe there's some, I'll identify the rounded number that is divisible by another number. This must be an Excel question. Yep. What is rounded down? Okay, that didn't get an answer, so. Okay, maybe we can try this. Let's put this back there. And let's edit this to say, let's just make it divided by 20. And then what I could do is I could, okay, so this might work. So I want to take that and then I want to, what's the word? What am I looking for? I want to make it an integer. So that gives me that. Okay, so I think I'm onto something now. So let me just copy that. Did I create it? Okay, so this is going to, I'm going to call this my range. So if I do, so that's not going to give me that. I want to now multiply that by 20, which should now make it 40, 60, 80. Okay, so that's going to give me that. So then I want to say range plus, we're going to turn this into a string. Plus, and then I want to take this value again, and I want to add to that my score bin, and then subtract 1 from that. There we go. 60 to 79. Okay, that looks like it worked. Divide it not by hard-coded 20. Oh, yeah, thank you. So this should be my score bin. Thank you, Conrad. So this is going to make it more dynamic. But the reason I didn't do that at first, well, first off, I didn't think of it, but also I wanted to make sure it worked. So, right, so what's going to happen now, if I show this parameter and I change this to 25, we should see 0 to 24, 25 to 49, 50 to 74, look at 100. There we go. So that's how we can calculate the range. Brilliant. Okay. So I'm going to now, let's rename that. Delete. And then my range can go on to my tooltip range. Okay, total score bin, we can get rid of that. And let's get that off of the tooltip. Okay. And then the spread, we can get rid of that in the tooltip. We can get rid of that header. We can get rid of the header on total score bin. Let's change this back to maybe like 25. Okay, so now in the tooltip, I'm going to just clean this up. So I'm going to say country. Let's maybe make that a bigger font. What's the word? Is there a better word instead of range? let's see, so we could call it maybe score. Yeah, maybe I'll call it score range. And then maybe I'll call this actual score. Okay, there we go. So I think that's pretty good. So that's our beeswarm chart. So what if we make this 20? Yeah, so I think that looks pretty good. All right. So that's what I'm going to use now for my I'm just going to stop there for my charts. And I'm going to get rid of my grid lines, get rid of my zero lines, get rid of my axis rulers. Okay, and then let's create a new dashboard. Get rid of the phone, of course. Oh, you know what? I probably can leave the phone on there. And let me no, let's leave it locked for now. Let's get this one built first. Okay, so I'm going to take the bin off because I don't need that anymore. And then what I could do here is I wonder if on the axis, I wonder if I could do yes, we don't want to do that. Yes, we don't want the axis. Okay, that's okay. So we'll get rid of that. And oh, wrong way around. What I'm going to try to do is spread this out so it fits in here. So I want the word worst to be all the way over here and the word best to be all the way over there. Now I could do that probably with, I could probably do it with, let me just keep spreading it. This probably isn't the best way to do it, but I'm going to do it this way anyway. Yeah, that's not going to work. It's going to take too long. So what I will do instead is, let me take this back off the view. And I'm going to bring in a container. So let's see, a vertical container. I'm going to start that at 0, 0, 1,800. I'll give it a bit of inner padding. Okay, so then I'm going to start with here. We want to call this the animal. Let's see, the best and worst countries for animal rights in 2021. Something like that. Oh, I'm going to make this smaller for sure. So let me make that maybe 14. Okay, and then I want to put my I want to put my beeswarm on here. Hide that title. And I've got my score bin in the background here, which I don't need. So I need to go to my layout and remove that container. Okay, and I'll fix these colors in a minute. So what I want to do now is I'm going to bring in a horizontal container here. And I'm going to bring in a text object. Let's call this one worst. And where's my emoji keyboard? Ah. Okay, I don't know if that makes it easier to look at or not. So let me change this color. Should we go with the purple or the pink? We'll go with the purple. Okay, so now I'm going to show my caption on here. Oops. I want to show my caption. And my data source is data source is the swiftest.com, not the Swifties, the Swiftest. Okay, something like that. And now I'm going to just resize it to make it look a bit better. Okay, so now I can make my circles a bit smaller. Okay. What do you think of something like that divided by 20? The proper way to label. Oh, okay, let's see here. So Conrad just brought this up in the chat. Oh, there we go. That was exactly what I just did, wasn't it? Okay, interesting. Well, at least I got to the same solution. And I trained Javon as well, the guy that wrote that post. So he knows what he's doing then, right? Okay, maybe I'll make this one black instead. 67 best and worst countries for animal rights. Okay. Curious to know your thoughts on that in the chat. If you could just leave me a message in the chat. Why do we have a parameter if we do not expose it? Oh, good question, Ojo. So I only used the parameter so that I don't have to continue to go into the calculation. So in this spread calculation, is it this one? Yeah, I refer to this level of detail expression. And that as I change the bin size, then the countries per bin, no, that doesn't change. Yeah, so the only thing that the score, so the score bins give me kind of the spread left to right. And I don't need that in the final visualization because I'm not allowing the user to change it, if that makes sense. I mean, I could show the parameter, something like that. Let me see. But I was using it just so that I don't have to continue to change the calculations. I can just get it right before I put it in the dashboard. So, you know, I could let the user change it if they want. You know, they can make it 10, you know, however they want to do it. What do you think? Do you think it's better to have it show it or to not show it? I'm curious to know what people think in the chat. Is it worth allowing the user to change the bin size? The question is, how do I could say, you know, I could call this something like set index range. And I could do something like that. Will this be available on YouTube for those? So Sanjeev, it's available both on LinkedIn and YouTube. It's a live stream. Not showing it. Is it not showing on YouTube? Is that what you mean? Oh, not showing it was the answer to my question. Sorry. So if I were going to include this in here, I would probably stick it in this container. Well, I would try to at least. There we go. Oh, that didn't work, did it? That's still not working. Let me try to fit this in here. I would probably like stick it in there. But I think, yeah, I don't think that actually looks very good. So I would make this maybe like 100 wide. Yeah, I think that kind of looks out of place. So yeah, I'm gonna exclude it. All right. So I need to go back here and set this back to 20. And I think that's what I went with. Or did I go with 25? I don't remember what number I had before. Was it 25? No, I think it was 20. Yeah, so 10 doesn't look very good. So let me float this again. I'm just going to leave this floating for now, and then I'll get the access right, and then I'll change it. So I think curious about the phone layout. In case there is more data, it would be a good idea to show the bin parameter. In case there was more data, what would the amount of data have to do with? So Aishwarya, why would the amount of data require you to show the bin? Okay, so it's 20. Okay, so I'll leave it at 20. So everything there's good. All right. So, and then what I would do for the phone layout, I'm going to do the device preview. I'm going to flip it. I'm going to undo that, and I'm going to fix the height to 375 because I want it to be that width. Okay, yes, that doesn't look bad. Except these are no longer in a container. So I need to fix so Tableau puts this tiled guy in here. So let's remove that. And I need to put a container back in here. So horizontal container. And then that's going to go in that container. The worst will go in that container. Come on. Right. And then I probably should distribute evenly. Well, they're pretty much the same size. So I could actually just make them the same size. What is my phone layout? My phone layout is 375 by 677. So that might be actually the easiest thing to do, is just make them the same size from the start. So then I just need to change my circle size a bit. Something like that. All right. So Ojo, I think that is probably what you were thinking there. So I actually really don't even need the phone layout. It's interesting though that, oh, I see, it's because, yeah, so let me delete that. And then in this layout, I'm going to actually, I'm going to get rid of my padding. Let's see what that looks like. No, I want to have at least 10. Okay, there we go. So I think that's okay. This one, I'm going to add maybe 20 from the left. And this one, I'll make it 20 from the right. I just want to pull them off the edges a bit. There we go. So I think that looks pretty good. All right. So I'm going to leave it there. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I hope you learned something. And yeah, so we created a unit histogram and a beeswarm chart today. And for those of you that are interested, you are welcome to sign up for Next Level Tableau. So if you go to nextleveltableau.com, it'll flip you over to actually a different page. And you can get live training like this 3 times a week. And office hours 1 day a week. Office hours, we talk about, we've talked about careers, we've done problems together, but we run 3 live training classes a week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And then training classes are Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Office hours on Thursday. You get access to all of the workshops I run throughout the year. I think there's going to be 11 of them this year. You get access to 130 tutorials. You can collect badges that you can post on LinkedIn or Twitter, wherever you want them, and a lot more, about 400 different data sources and workbooks for you to practice with. So thank you very much. If you are interested, again, it's nextleveltableau.com or join.andykribel.com. And if you have any questions about it at all, just shoot me a message, and I will tell you everything you need to know to get in. All right. Talk to you later. Bye.